For someone that doesn't wear tops, I sure do have a lot of top patterns. Now I had intended this video to be my top pattern and shirt pattern collection clear out, but I have too many of both categories to make them one video because it would be really long. So we're going to do the tops first and we'll do shirts another day. I just really don't tend to gravitate towards wearing tops, and if I do want to have something that looks like a top, I tend to actually end up layering something and using a skirt over a dress to make the dress bodice look like a top. I have a feeling that a lot of the patterns that I have here are either going to go into the de-stash pile or into the I can so make this a dress and make it a layering piece. I doubt very many of these are going to actually get made up as tops that would then survive in my wardrobe, although there are a few. So without any further waffle, the first one that I have here is the Charm Rita blouse. I bought this when Gertie first started releasing charm patterns. I absolutely love it on everybody else. I've tried to make it up this year and I just don't like it on me. I think it's beautiful. I really like the kind of detail at the front. I don't like the ruching over the back. I wish the back was smooth. Now I appreciate that that would kind of take away from the type of top that it is, but that's just my opinion and thoughts on this one. So I'm actually going to put this in my de-stash pile. I was going to try again with the long sleeve edition that you get if you're a Patreon of Gertie's, which I am and have been from the very beginning, and I was going to try making the dress version because she's done a hack for that as well. I just genuinely don't think that I would end up liking it because of that back detail, and I have other patterns and other dresses that give me the kind of look that I like but without having to make the amount of changes that I would to this one. So this is going in the de-stash pile and I absolutely love it on everybody else. Like I say, it's just not for me. Next up is a kind of older Vogue 7827. I bought this when I was probably about 20 years ago now. Yeah, it was one of those ones that's very in fashion at the time, and I think I had similar tops. I actually don't dislike this, and I can imagine elongating it and making it as a beach cover-up. So I think this needs to move over from the section that I have it in to kind of my beach cover-up section, and it would probably be versions A and B that would get made as that kind of a thing. Not that I go on holiday very often, and I do have a few beach cover-ups that are pretty much identical to this already, but they are made of beautiful but polyester fabrics. They're ready to wear, so it would be nice to make myself one in a fabric that I enjoy having next to my skin. So I am going to keep this one, but it is going to go into a different category. I'm going to need to make multiple piles. Next we have the Vogue 9285. I really like the neckline of this one. It's kind of reminiscent to what I'm wearing now, except this is like just a grown-up one and this one actually has a collar. I don't like the sleeves of A and B, but I do love the sleeves of C. No surprise there. I think this is a really pretty top. I also think it would be relatively easy to put in a waistband, have it gathered into the waistband, because I would always wear this tucked into a skirt. So have a waistband on it, have it gathered into a waistband or a waist seam, not necessarily a waistband, and put a skirt on it. So I'm keeping this one. I really like this one. I haven't made it yet, but I do think I would, and I think I would like it. So this one's staying. Another older Vogue 7800. Again, this one was very in fashion at the time. I think it was like the early 2000s that I bought this. It could have been the late, no, it was definitely the early 2000s that I bought this, so about 20 years ago. I really like the sleeve versions on this. I like the cowl neckline. Again, I could see myself elongating this and making it into a dress. I think it's bias cut. Fitted bias top has, yeah, bias top. So I think if I elongated this in the right way, it could make a really nice bias cut top. This one is probably less likely to get made than the last one because I'm not overly sure how I feel about bias things on me, but I haven't tried them yet, so I want to try them, and I'm doing that with the Sicily slip dress. So once I've tried it, it might be worth playing around with this pattern to then get a bias cut dress out of it. but I do really like the neckline of this, and I love C's details with the sparkles on the shoulders. I think that's really pretty. McCalls 7508. Now this one I bought because it reminded me a lot of Zimmermann type of clothing with all the ruffles and the details on it. The actual bodice itself, if you look at it, is really basic, and it already has a waist seam and a peplum, so all you'd need to do is elongate the peplum into a skirt length that you liked, and then you have a dress. I am going to keep this one. I love the Zimmermann aesthetic. I don't know how I would feel about it on me once I'd made it up with all the ruffles and everything on it, but I'd be willing to give it a go. And I think it's actually quite a nice princess seamed bodice. It's, you know, it's quite a basic bodice anyway, so it could work really well as maybe even a replacement for the 1743 bodice. Be really easy to put a yoke line across the top of this one to kind of replicate that, and it's got similar, not the same, but similar kind of lines on that one at the bodice. So I'm keeping this one, but I would, if I made this, it would be as a dress. Another very old McCalls. Well, for me it was the 4256. I bought this one again in the early 2000s, as you can probably tell from the actual top. I've kept this one every pattern call that I've done because there's a few of these older ones that I bought in that particular, I bought them all at the same time. It was during one of the $2 sales, and it was just like, wow, it's amazing. And then the postage ended up being more than the actual patterns cost. This reminds me of kind of like All Saints pieces at that time. It's very kind of also, I've got another shirt coming up that's also very All Saints, bought at the same time, which is probably why I picked both of them. I again can see myself elongating this, probably wearing it with like the faux stays or like a corset over the top of it, probably as a costume if I'm being honest, but that doesn't mean to say that it doesn't have a place in my collection, because I do really like it and I have fond memories of this, so I'm keeping this one. But again, it would be made as a dress. Next we have McCalls 7784, which is a Laura Ashley pattern, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a cold shoulder one. I absolutely love D. I know from past experience of having made things like this that I will never wear this because I find them very irritating. I am going to experiment with a dress that has a detail that comes off of the shoulders, but it's going to be elasticated so that it can either be worn over the straps or off the shoulders, very much like the Trashy Diva Hollywood dress. I know that this one, the shoulders don't have any elastication in the top, so I would just find it really annoying. The few tops that I've made like this in the past, I have since donated because annoying, so no, that one's gonna go. Next we have McCalls 6794. This is a slightly older pattern. I bought it at the beginning of my sewing journey this time around. I know Emily Hallman has made this into a dress and it looks absolutely amazing on her. I like this one. It has waist cinching details in it and then the peplum underneath of that. It does have a grown-on sleeve or a satin sleeve. I'm not 100% sure because I don't overly like grown-on sleeves past a certain length, but that's a very easy alteration to make. I would just obviously chop off the excess at the length that I like, or I could do the satin sleeves, which are kind of bishopy sleeves, although they're 3/4 length. I think this one could be quite a good candidate for perhaps a hot weather dress as well, because there is no shaping in the back. It would be interesting to see how wide the pattern piece has got at the back. It might end up needing to have a centre back seam added so that you could have the length of the skirt that you wanted on it, but I do think this could work for me because of the cinching of the waist tie, so I am going to keep this one, but again it probably would be made up as a dress. Next we have McCalls 7868, and I think I saw one of you lovely lot make this and I just thought, ooh, that's a really nice pattern. I like it, especially D. I really like the neckline. I like the soft gathers into a collar like that. Love the sleeves. It's already got a channel and elastication in at the waist. It would be really easy to kind of make that a seam that you then add a different type of skirt onto, and as long as you made the skirt wide enough to go over your shoulders, because you're going to be pulling this top on, then I think this could work as a dress. And I do really like it. I mean, having, as much as I'm saying I'm going to turn all these into dresses, I do have lengths of fabric in my stash that are literally only going to, I'm only going to get tops out of them, although some of them I have moved over here because this dress I can get out of just under 2 meters of fabric, which is awesome. But going forward I'm going to be much more picky about my fabric purchasing, and if there isn't enough fabric of a certain print that I've fallen in love with, I'm going to walk away rather than buy the meter that's left or the 1.5 meter remnant that I can find, because I just know that I don't wear tops as much as I wear dresses. So going forward, I'm going to be much more thoughtful with my fabric purchasing, but I do still have fabric lengths back here that I can only make tops with. So that's why, you know, some of these I will be making tops out of them, although I do like the fact that the majority of these can be turned into dresses because that is my preference. We have McCalls 7803, which is a beautiful pattern that the very lovely Lorianne got me and brought me over when she came over the very first time from the States. I love this one, and they've already turned it into a dress for the kind of like pencil skirted versions, but it's particularly A that I like. I do like the tie at the front. This was very reminiscent of a top that I saw in Topshop, which I think is one of the reasons that I was like, ooh yeah, that would be a really good dupe. I like the neckline. I would probably make the skirt full, I would make the skirt longer, or the peplum longer of A, and I would also probably end up corralling the volume of the sleeves into either an elastication or maybe a cuff, but probably elastication for the length that they are of A, but I can see myself elongating them and making them a full-length sleeve because we do like a full-length sleeve. So yeah, this one's staying, and this one again will probably end up being a dress. McCalls 8043. I think this is absolutely beautiful. I really like this. I think it was also reminiscent of a couple of Zimmermann silhouettes that I'd seen, and I was just like, I really want that. It's backless. It's completely backless. It also has a really deep plunging V at the front. My battery's dying again. 2 secs. Okay, fingers crossed this battery doesn't die in 5 seconds like the last one did. So yeah, 8043. Backless. It does have a deep V at the front. This is beautiful. I absolutely love this. It would be really easy to make this into a wrap dress as well by adding a wrap skirt on, but obviously that wraps at the back rather than at the front. I'm not going to keep it. I think it's beautiful. I want to make it up. I know I would never wear this. I don't like that there's no way that I could wear a bra easily with this, and the deep plunge at the front as well. I've know from previous experience, which there's a top staring at me that's coming up soon that I will talk about, that I just don't end up liking that. I've done a top and a dress recently where it's just, no, I don't like it. Which surprises me. I thought I would, but nope, I don't like it. So this one is going. Next up is another slightly older McCalls 6604. It's a cowl neck t-shirt. I really love this one. I've got the 6563 next as well. I love both of these. I've made loads of these. I've actually traced this one out but never made it up. I'm keeping the 6563, by the way, just in case that wasn't clear. That one, I love it. I do wear it quite frequently when I do wear separates. I'm going to keep it as is. You could, again, elongate that into a bias cut dress, which I did think about when I was doing the short of the last day of my separates challenge. Thinking, ooh, that could work as a bias cut dress, and I might try it at some point in the future. But again, once I've seen if I actually like bias cut dresses on me, and then if I actually wear the ones that I have made, because Sicily slip dress is coming. So the 6604, I really like this one. Mum's made this one up. She doesn't like it so much, but she finds that the shoulders do slip off of her shoulders. I have a feeling that she's made a size that's way too big for her though, because these, as we know, the size charts on these are misleading, and you really need to go by your finished garment measurements, which is not something that Mum was 100% aware of when she made this one. And so, like I say, it was quite a while ago, and I know it's gone from her wardrobe since. I really like B particularly. A and B. I don't overly like C or D that much. They're not really my cup of tea, but A and B I really like. I especially like the collar and the turn back tabs on B, so I am going to keep this one. As I say, I do have some shirt or top length fabrics in my stash, so that could work for one of those. Next we have McCalls 7436, which was part of my pant swap with Tracy B. Again, I really like this one. I think this is a beautiful shirt. I would probably do View D's neckline with the pussy bow, but not View D's sleeves. I don't overly love that cut off detail in the middle. I'm not a fan of that, but I do like the voluminousness of those sleeves. So C's sleeves onto D's sort of neckline. Again, this would be another one that would be really easy to elongate if you like trapeze style dresses. You could then belt it, and I think that is a lovely look. I have made 2 of those types of dresses. My sister-in-law has both of them now. I put them on and they were lovely, but they were things that I was just like, I think I want to wear something like this more than I wanted to wear that one, which is why I haven't made any more of those trapeze style dresses, but this definitely could be one of those. This also could be one that you elongated, put an elasticated channel in so that it's cinched, and then just put a belt or a tie over the top of it, so it could very easily be made into kind of a dress. I am going to keep this one. I might be more ruthless in my next cull, which I might do in a couple of years time, but I am going to keep that one because I do like it and I do think it could be interesting. Next we have McCalls 7468, which was also part of my pattern swap with Tracy B. I really like this one, and it's got cold shoulder details. For me, the detailing doesn't look like it would be restrictive because the sleeves are big. I would 100% put a cuff or elastication channel in the bottom of the sleeves because that would drive me nuts, but this actually could be, it's either a peplum top or a tunic. You could lengthen it a little bit more, which I would. I prefer my skirts to be just below my knees, well, probably a little bit more below my knees actually, but this could easily be made into a dress, or a longer dress than it currently is. I like all the gathering at the neckline. I'm keeping this one. We have McCalls 7929. It's another Laura Ashley pattern. This one is beautiful. I really like the detailing on this one. It is a button back top, which I absolutely hate. I don't like button back tops or dresses. I find them very irritating, so I would change that. But again, it does have a waist seam and either a peplum or no peplum, or they have elongated it and just fitted it over the hips for D. So for me, I would make this one with the sleeves on, with the bodice detail, and just elongate the peplum to make it into a dress. I think this would be an absolutely gorgeous dress, so keeping this one. Then we've got McCalls 8095, which is a wrap top, and it is a really beautiful wrap top. I love version C. Those sleeves are epic. B is really doesn't look like much of a wrap on her on the picture that they've made it up in, and I'm not sure about those open sleeves. We know how I feel about open sleeves. No, just no. So sleeves from C with those deep cuffs are really nice, and again, this would be really easy to add a skirt on to make it into a wrap dress. I love the little ruffle on view A as well. I can see myself making this as a long wrap dress, so I'm keeping it. I'm not sure if I'm going to redistribute these patterns into the different dress categories that I've got, or keep them in the top category. I think probably keep them in the top category so that I can find them easily, but yeah, the majority of these are going to get made into dresses. The comment section is going to be hilarious. Most guys are going to think I'm absolutely insane for this. I know. We're halfway through. Here's the other half. Yeah. Next, we have McCalls 7659, which I have actually made up. I made it with the V at the front, and I really didn't like how that looked at all. So I made version C. I actually really like how the rest of the top turned out, and I'm surprised that I haven't gone back to this one. It is a sew along that I owe the channel, and the Patreon peeps have voted for this one. I am going to go back and trace out the pattern piece that doesn't have the deep V in it, because like I say, I really didn't like that. I am also probably going to turn it into a dress, the bodice of a dress. I think with a waist seam in there, that kind of curve of the midriff, what would be the midriff panel, is really pretty. I did a lot of shaping in the last top that I made to fit it over my waist and flare out over my hips. I remember doing that, and I remember really liking how it turned out. If I can find a picture of it, I will put it up for you guys. It was in the December lookbook of 2021. Yeah, I want to revisit this, and I've already traced a majority of the pattern out. There will be some work that needs doing to this pattern to get it to a state that I personally like. I probably will end up putting a cuff on rather than elastication at the bottom, but yeah, I ended up really liking this, so I will keep this one, and I will eventually put the sew along out for it, but it's going to be wildly different to what the pattern actually recommends. We've got McCalls 7977, which was part of my pattern swap with Heather. Now I have tried this one. Again, this is another one that it reminded me very much of a Zimmermann dress, and it does already have the channel in at the waist. I want to make this one again. I made it last time I think it was 2021. Yes, it was 2021, and I made it out of a beautiful print, but it was polyester, and I hated how that thing turned out. I want to go back to the drawing board with this one. I really like the ruffle. It's very reminiscent of the Zimmermann dress. I've actually bought fabric that's reminiscent of the Zimmermann dress as well, that I kind of in my head have as this dress. I think I'm going to put a tiered and gathered skirt on it rather than because I think that's what I tried to do last time, but I didn't give it enough flair to the first tier, so it just didn't quite look right. So yeah, I want to do this one again. I want to tweak the front ruffle because there is only a front ruffle. I ended up adding in a back ruffle, and I liked the fullness that I got from that one much more than the front ruffle, so I want to tweak that. I want to tweak the construction method as well, but I really like this and I think this has potential, so I'm keeping this one. Next is the Butterick 6711, which was part of my pattern swap with Elizabeth. I really like this neckline. I really like these sleeves. Again, I think I fell for this because of the sleeves, in all honesty. This is a really good one for showing off a larger print because there's one dart at the bust and that's it. I think I'm gonna let this one go because from the ones that I love it. I do think it's lovely. I just don't think that if I made this one up, it would end up with like an elasticated waist and then like a bigger skirt on it, and I think I have other patterns that I like more. And that high neckline with the squared off high neckline, I really like that, but I just think I'm either like a really high all the way up or kind of cleavage-tastic neckline. That's usually my preference, so I'm gonna let this one go. I've got another one from the very lovely Elizabeth during my pattern swap with her. This is the Butterick 6713. Now this one I'm gonna keep. I love that neckline. I think that's really interesting. I would probably do view B or view A. I'm not so sure about the cutouts on view C. Oh, and it would be only the sleeves from B with the cuff at the bottom, not the other two, I don't think. Although I have done a little ruffle at the bottom of a couple of sleeves now, and I actually kind of like it, so maybe. Again, for me, this one I would probably end up putting in a waist seam. I would probably have it gathered, the top of this dress lightly gathered into either the waist seam, probably a waistband, because I think gathering into just the waist seam of a skirt, if it's not a gathered skirt as well, can maybe look a little bit weird, but if with a waistband it gives it that definition. It does have a centre back seam which is meant to have, is that a zip? Or no, hooks and eyes. So it does have a centre back seam for the closure, which would be really easy just to turn that into a zipper closure, even if the zip finished where they want the gap to finish and then you have hook and eyes at the top. Although I don't overly like that finish, I tend to bring my zips all the way to the top, but I love the crossover and kind of like detail at the front neckline, so I'm keeping this one. This is another one from Tracy B, Butterick 6487. Again, I really like that high neck with the gathering into it. I will probably end up putting a seam at the waist and making this a dress because that is my preference. I love the little yoke details on C, and they've used like a sheer lace on the image that they've drawn there. I like that. I also very much like the little ruffle on the one from D. I'm keeping this one. Again, it's probably going to end up being turned into a dress though. This was part of my pattern swap with Heather. I have both size bundles. It is Butterick 6731. Again, it's one of those ones that I would elongate into a dress. I love the sleeves. I love the V neckline on it. I really like the tie detail that's at the front. I have a couple of images saved of dresses that have a tie detail like that because it just kind of gives shape at the waist. I would obviously put a much more flared skirt on it, but I probably would just elongate the skirt out from this pattern rather than put a waist seam in, which you could do, and I maybe will do, but I do really like this one, so I am going to keep it and try and make it up in the future. This is Simplicity 8693, and again the very lovely Lorianne bought this for me for the very first time that she came over. This is very reminiscent of what's the name of the company? They do those beautiful lace dresses. I can't remember the name of the company. Hopefully I'll put it up on the screen for you. I keep wanting to say Paper Chase, but it's not Paper Chase. What is the name of the company? My phone's currently dying on its charger, so I will put the name of the company up but they did some shirting and things very much like this, and I remember seeing this pattern come out and just think, oh wow, that's amazing, I could totally do this. Now usually I don't like asymmetric things, but I absolutely love the pinstripe version that they've put up. Now they recommend chambray, cotton lawn, cotton types, lightweight denim, linen types shirtings, extra fabric needed to match plaids, stripes or one-way designed fabrics. I get that. I do think it's a very nice look in the shirting fabrics. I would want to make this in a viscose, and I would make this as a top. I wouldn't try and fudge this one into a dress, but I do think I would prefer it in a viscose because I'm always going to want to wear it tucked in, and I find that the shirting kind of fabrics that they recommend, I don't like when they are blousy because they don't drape as nicely. They do have some drape, but it's just not my preference for how I like to have my clothes look on me. But I think this tucked into one of my denim skirts, for example, and I can see myself definitely making it in the kind of like blue and white pinstripe. I might even make the collar an ivory color and the cuffs ivory as well, because I kind of think I think I would like that. This is one that I want to keep and experiment with. I do think I will do it in a very different fabric, but I do think that this could look awesome, and it's, like I say, very reminiscent of that company that I cannot remember the name of. I've got another top that is as well, but it might be in the shirt collection, which I think it is. So that one's staying, and I have a vision for that one. Whether it will work out or not, I don't know, but it's one that I want to try in the future. The very lovely Leslie sent me this, and she sent me some fabric for it as well, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's Simplicity 8948. I love how this looks, and again, this one does come with its own sash. It's very reminiscent of a couple of the other ones that you've seen, but it has like a slit down the front, but it's a much more kind of reserved split down the front. I don't know, I like this one. I very much like the version that they've made up. Again, I would put in a waist seam, add a skirt. I would still have the cummerbund, which is kind of what E is. Yeah, cummerbund. I really like that, and I'm kind of glad that I've got a pattern for that actually, but I do think this would end up being the bodice of a dress rather than a top. But thank you very much to Leslie for sending me this, and the fabric is absolutely gorgeous. Next, Simplicity 8918, which again is one of those kind of like elasticated v-neck with a waist seam, and again it would be really easy to turn that into a dress. It's a pull-on top, so it would need to have the skirt be big enough to be a pull-on skirt as well, so not a pencil skirt basically, unless you want to add in a centre back zip. I do really like this one. It's very similar to that McCalls one that I've got from earlier, isn't it? The McCalls one does actually have more shaping over the bust than this one, so this one is slightly different. Oh, I think I'm gonna let this one go and keep the McCalls one, because I do think I would prefer more of the shaping that I've got, and I've got quite a few tops that are kind of blouson like that would then get gathered into a waistband. So I'm going to let that one go, and I'm going to keep the McCalls one. Next we have Simplicity 8601, which is like a little kind of tie front shirt that's cut on the bias, especially pretty with the stripes. I absolutely love this. I think it's gorgeous. I know I will never wear this. I know I won't. There was a Topshop pattern, or a Topshop top, that came out when this pattern was out, and I was just like, oh, I could dupe this high street piece with this pattern. I must have it. Not really thinking about the types of things that I like to wear and how I like to get dressed. So this one is gorgeous, but it is not going to be right for me. So this one's going to go. Mum's going to get first refusal on all of these. She's probably going to say no to most of them, but otherwise they will be ending up in a D-stash either on Instagram or on my website, which hopefully is coming soon. Next we have Gertie 8882. This one is really lovely, and I've seen loads of people have turned this into dresses already, because again it's a peplum, so very easy to elongate that or just to take that off and put on whatever skirt shape you like. I like the midriff, I like the neckline, I like the sweetheart bit, I like the little buttons on it. I think that's really cute, so yeah, that one's staying. Next is New Look 6532, which came free with a sewing magazine. I really like this, but I just know I'm never going to make this up, any of these pieces. I think they're gorgeous. I really like the top on her. I like the little asymmetric detail from a yoke at the shoulder. It's not for me. Mum might like this for the trousers and for the top, so I'm going to let her have a look at that, but yeah, that one's not for me. Another tunic. I have made this one up a very long time ago. It was when I was still living in London, so a very, very long time ago. This is New Look 6086. It's got a little vest top and then a couple of little tunics, depending on the fabrics that you choose. If you made one of the kind of tunic tops out of a sheer fabric, you could wear it over the little vest top. I want to revisit this one because I am looking for my perfect camisole. Now, I think E is too long and it does have side slits in it, but it does have like French darts in it, I think they're called. The kind of darts that angle down into the waistline for shaping, and I do tend to prefer tops that have some kind of shaping at the bust because I do have such a big difference between my bust and my waist that if anything just hangs directly from my bust with no shaping, I tend to look that size, which is just not my preference. So I am going to keep this one, but it's probably going to end up being in the beach cover-up section rather than the top section, unless the camisole or slip is a huge success. And we're into my indie patterns. I've got two giant Vogue ones as well, but we're into my indie patterns. We're getting there. We are nearly done. First up, we've got the Soaholic Belcara blouse. I have traced this off. I've just not made this yet. Now, a few people have mentioned, because this is a woven t-shirt and a pull-on t-shirt, that with the shaping that I personally prefer at the waist, I probably wouldn't end up being able to get this over my boobs. I had that problem with the Evelyn top from Now and Then patterns, which is coming up in a second. So I don't know about this one. I want to give it a try because it's really pretty, and if it works, I think it could be a really cool use of some of my smaller pieces of fabric that I have back there. It's not cut on the bias, but I think if I maybe cut it on the bias, it might work slightly better for my shape and for the shaping that I like. So I want to give this one a try, and I haven't yet, but I do really like everything else that everyone else has made up from this pattern, so I'm keeping this one. Next we have my two experimental space patterns, which are beautiful, the Evelyn and the Josie blouse. Now the Josie blouse does actually have a dress extension released already, and I have that. I've downloaded it. It is for a pencil skirt, but the theory behind the pencil skirt could easily be transferred into a half circle skirt, full circle skirt, 3/4 circle skirt, tiered and gathered skirt, whichever one you know you end up liking. This one has some really interesting pleat details on the shoulders and into the top of the sleeves. This also has really lovely instructions. They talk you through how to French seam things and when you need to do things to make sure that you have a clean finish on the inside, which I really appreciate. The Evelyn is another really lovely pattern. I really like the little detail down the front. Again, I probably will never wear this as a top. I'm going to keep it and I'm going to try and make it at least once. Again, I have fabric in my stash for this. It will be interesting to see how this one comes out and whether I want to then maybe have a look at trying to turn this one into a dress, because I think with a side zip and into a skirt it could work really well, and I do really love that front detail, so I'm keeping this one. The Deer and Doe Ariel blouse, which is another kind of like woven t-shirt that is really cute. My ex bought me this. I don't know if I want to try and make this one up or not. I think I need to do a little bit more research and have a look online and see what other people's ones of this have come out like. I love the one on the Deer and Doe website, which is why I'd asked for this pattern. But again, I don't wear tops. And I don't know, I'm not sure about that one. You'll maybe have to let me know what you think in the comments down below. We've got the Now and Then Evelyn blouse and dress. I have made this up a couple of times. The first time I went by the patterns instructions for the sizing and I could barely get it over my boobs. I then went and made another one, which was about the same time as I made 2021. It was about the same time I made that kind of ruffly neck Zimmerman inspired dress. I made it out of the same fabric as a wearable muslin. I was really happy with it. I've actually bought some Dior silk, a really expensive £35 a meter Dior silk, to make this top up, and a couple of people said, oh, it still doesn't fit you right, and I got the fear and I didn't want to cut into it. So I've tried this top twice. It does have a dress option on it. I am probably going to make it up as a dress version. I'm probably going to change the skirt somewhat because I don't overly like the shape of this skirt for me personally, but I do really love the shape of the blouse. So I am going to keep this one. I am going to make this one. I'm probably going to do something different with the Dior silk that I've got though as well, because the top on this one did come up quite high and the Dior silk that I have is a black background, so I want to try and make something that's slightly deeper and further away from my face, because obviously having had my colours done, which you can find out about here if you haven't watched me waffle about it before, I don't suit black very close to my face despite having jet black hair, or cosmic blue hair to be fair. So yeah, I think I need to rethink what I'm going to do with the Dior silk, but I do want to keep that particular pattern because I do really like it, so that one's staying. And then the last two patterns I have are the Vogue patterns 1726, which is a copy of a Isabel Marant top. Oh, I want to be cool enough to wear this. I have seen other people wear it. So Curly has made this up, I think. And she looks amazing in it. Absolutely. I mean, she looks amazing in everything she makes. She does make a lot of things that are Isabel Marant dupes. I don't think I'm going to keep this one. The Isabel Marant jumper that I tried to copy, I didn't like how it looked on me. I don't think I'm going to end up loving how this one looks on me either. And it's a top. I could make it into a dress, but I just don't think this one's going to work for me. So this one's going to go. And then the final one is Vogue 1680. I bought this one because I just thought it was fascinating the way that the front went together. It's already got the peplum on there, so again this would be really easy to just elongate those pieces and turn this into a dress. However, the V neckline on this is really deep, really deep. I personally prefer to wear balconette bras, which I know would show under this. Now I could obviously adjust the neckline, I could pin the neckline, I could put a press stud in there to corral everything and keep it where I wanted it to be. I just don't think that I love this one enough, especially given some of the other ones that I've got that I prefer, that I would end up making the effort to make this one into something that I loved. So that one's gonna go as well. That's it. That's my last pattern. I've kept 27. I've put one into a different category and I have destashed 8. I mean, that's probably not a... Do you know what? No, I like collecting patterns and I like having them, and I have got better about looking at patterns with a more critical eye and thinking, oh my gosh, yes, no, I love that, but would I wear it? Could I make it work for me? Is this gonna look good on me? Is this going to be something that if I do spend the time making it up, it's going to actually be something that then gets reached for from the wardrobe? Or is it going to be something that I make up and try on and then in theory really like and then just languishes in the wardrobe never to see the light of day again? I have got better at that. I'm pleased with my destash. I think I've picked the right ones to let go of. I think I have got good ideas for the ones that I want to keep and how I'm going to make them work for me. I know that not everybody wants to wear as many dresses as I do. It's my preference. I love that one and done kind of like getting ready in the morning kind of thing. So that is a big reason behind me loving dresses as much as I do. But I also just feel more comfortable in them, and I like the idea that I could have all of these be dresses, but then I could put some of my favorite skirts over them, because I do have a lot of skirts and I do make a lot of skirts, but have them as layering pieces, so I get the best of both worlds. I get the dress that I love, but then also the top that it's intended to be as an extra. So for me, that kind of makes sense. Although going forward I am going to be incredibly critical about any patterns that are top patterns coming into my collection, because I already have a lot and I just don't wear them. So I'd be really interested to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I have kept ones that I should have let go of? Do you think I have let go of ones that I should have kept? It would be very interesting to hear what you guys think. If you've enjoyed this video, you might want to check out this one here.